these sorts of collaboration opportunities and could help with that, whether that is being a co-contact, however it might be helpful just to move those things forward. So the city would be the member, and then the contact, like I said, could be whoever you decide. It could be Maurice, it could be a commissioner, it could be whoever you decide, if you decided to move forward on that. And I can forward that membership information to you guys if you'd like.
When you say they look for funding opportunities, that means they look for opportunities to fund, or they're looking for...
They provide grant writers.
Okay.
Yes. So
they're aware of people who could help us if we have projects.
Yes. Yeah, and it can be specifically for infrastructure. It can be for streets, sidewalks. Those are the types of projects that a lot of municipalities partner with Flint Hills Regional Council for.
Could it be for, I don't know, parks?
Yes. Yeah, that really the value proposition with becoming a member of Flint Hills Regional Council, and they don't pay me to say this. I'm not benefiting in any way by who is a member. But the value proposition there is that they will pay for grant writers for you. So as a community, through the contact, you would pick a couple of different projects that you'd want to go after some resources for. They would work with a grant writer for you. You would be connected directly with that grant writer to create that information. And those tend to be they can be laborious processes. And a lot of times, especially if it's like a CDBG, kind of a community development block grant is one in particular, it takes a lot of experience to get one of those approved and funded. And so again, that value proposition is that Flint Hills Regional Council, for their members, will provide grant writing, which would that alone would pay for the $2,500. So really my call to action to that is just, would you consider it? I would be happy to answer questions that I can from my perspective for you. Otherwise, I can connect you with Kent as well.
Any questions or comments?
I mean, it wouldn't hurt to try, right? At least for 1 year. Like the breadth of grants, is that something that we can use to help pay for equipment? And does it include public and private grants?
Yes.
Or is it just public grants?
Oh no, public, private, all sorts of grants. So Flint Hills Regional Council is kind of that the catalyst, or kind of that conduit in between the different funding sources. So some of them are maybe like federal government, but not all of them. Like Patterson Family Foundation, for instance, is a private family foundation, and they just offer the opportunities. You choose the ones that you want to go for, the ones that make the most sense in your community, and that's how you go about it.
All right, so I think the only thing would you like to...
Can I comment?
Come on up and comment, yeah.
And that's it for me, unless you have other questions.
Yeah.
Just hi, my name is Juan Duarte. I'm a resident of San Luis. Just adding 2 cents on this, because we'll be discussing this with Shannon, and part of the Valley Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. Always the discussion ends on grants. So it could be public or private at school, but according to the presentation that we had from the Flint Hills Regional Council, they have a lot of different resources to put us together with different counties inside the Flint Hills Regional for business development. And as what the board discusses, that we're willing to help the city to co-sponsor this, so you wouldn't have to pay for the membership. So we can go ahead and try. Of course, the idea for us, and we discussed this with Rafa, is to work hand to hand, the new board with the new board of commissioners, so we can work hand to hand with the businesses that we're trying to develop in town, and also with the long-term planning of St. Mary's. So we're willing to also cover the expense of this if you allow it and you're willing to try. We don't, as many of you, you wouldn't want to swing to come attached to this kind of funding. So we explore that. There's a lot of private that we can go and try first, and everything is look into it first. Everyone agree and have a decision, but we don't have to cover the expenses that the people at Flint Hill Regional Council cover for us. And I think it's a good route to market to start trying it. So I just wanted to take this 2 cents to say that we're here to help as well.
Did you say you pay for the whole thing for a year?
Yeah, the board is willing to, the Cavalli Chamber is willing to pay the first year. Like to sponsor
Okay, even though the city
exactly.
owns the-
To sponsor it, to try it together, and we can work. You can have a point of contact. We can work together just to try it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Very generous. Thank you.
Yes, Mayor. So it's an idea. Automatically, I'm hesitant. It's at the website. We've got a 215-page planning document for all the counties involved. There's a little hesitancy on these types of groups to join. Remember, I'd like to get some time to just look into what they're about, because I think there's a lot of layers to this type of stuff, and it takes a little bit. Everybody thinks that grants are the answer to everything, but I think there needs to also be some consideration of just what are we trying to accomplish, what is our budget, what can we do. And a lot of times I think it takes, we first have to understand our budget before we start talking about grants. And I think we can do a lot of things, and we have done a lot of things without having to go to other people and ask for other people's money and sign up for their services. I think we have enough money, we have enough talent, we have enough ability inside. So I'm a little bit hesitant on things like this, and especially when it's on the surface appears very simple, but you take a look a little deeper and there's a lot more to it. So I'd like some time to read through some of their documents and some of their
Reasonable. We have a point of contact, right? We just get a point of contact, or you'll send it to her.
Yeah, I can send it to Maurice.
Thank you.
I think, to agree with Francis, with everything Francis has said about how there's many layers to this and the need to understand the budget. I mean, what better way to look under the hood than to be a member, right? If the chamber is willing to pay for it and we can participate essentially for free for the city, we would have access to any information that the commission would need in order to assess whether it's valuable to continue participating in that or not. I don't know, that's my 2 cents. I think, there's no way for us really to lose there. I guess the question for Shannon, every grant application, does that need to be approved by the commission first before it goes out?
Do you want me to go up so he can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, whoever is the contact working with Flint Hills Regional Council will be communicating and speaking on your behalf. I'm assuming that information will take some coordination. So probably as a group, you might think through the different projects that are going on in the community, and maybe just say, there's priority A, B, C, and just say what are some options out there, and then working with the Flint Hills Regional Council, decide what you're okay with. They're not going to pay for they're not going to pay for someone to work on a project that you're not completely sold on. So you can decide, you can make those parameters. Does that answer your question?
Yes. I mean, it seems to me that, at the very surface, we have at least a sidewalk annual project that exists. We're very soon going to have a parks project that exists. And I understand that we've been self-sufficient, but if there's private individuals out there who have foundations and who have a passion for helping out rural communities, I think that could be very helpful to take advantage of, because we're helping them further their passion.
Yeah.
We're helping our people have a nicer town. So again, control over what grants can be applied for, I think that would be important, because I do understand that we wouldn't want to get stuck in a position where we give away something,
Right.
give away the farm for a few bucks.
Right. Yes.
Okay, but it sounds like that. I just want to. It may not be a huge difference, but they're not going to work on anything that we aren't going to accept. That means we kind of need to make the decision up front. We need to know fully what all the implications are of a given grant before we apply for it.
I think, I'm not sure exactly how their process works. I imagine that they will come in and talk with you about the projects that you have in mind for the community. They will make some recommendations on which grants to go after based on the parameters, and you would give them the go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it might be a good opportunity for Maurice to have a conversation with Stacy Icom at Wamego. They've been long-standing members of Flint Hills Regional Council for a very long time, and they're usually working on at least a few. So they have a lot of experience of going through this process, and could probably speak to that pretty easily.
Sure, that just speaks to the essential concern that we all have. Let's make sure we know exactly what we're signing up for before we sign up for it, even if someone else is paying for it.
Yeah.
Which I think is reasonable.
Yep.
But I appreciate the information. It sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
The only other thing I would add is I'm going to turn the tables on the chamber, and to the extent that they also have projects that they'd be interested in, if they could prepare, documentation of that we could review, that would also be helpful as we're assessing everything that we could work on through this partnership.
I'm not sure I completely understand what you mean by that.
So, because it sounds like the commission is saying that we first need to figure out what our projects are so that we can go this and see how we can work together to get grants for it, right? I think we have already projects via the sidewalks, via the parks, but if there's other projects that maybe the chamber is considering in a way that helps businesses, we would appreciate, at least I would appreciate, if they brought it to our attention. So that's some of the things that we're considering as we're, to the extent we're working with this organization. Does that make sense?
Chairman, let me comment on that. So to be clear, as chamber, we don't want to step over the commission decision. We want to be clear that we want to make ourselves available to work closer with you. We have been, of course, discussing about projects in town for businesses, but we want, or the perception, my personal perception is that we need to start working closer together. You have more of the chamber here, more meetings. I said, this is what we're thinking, this is what we're trying to develop. I want you also to be part of that decisions. We don't want any kind of commitment that we have to go after any grant. We want first to be reviewed, discussed in the commission. Either it is proposed from the commission, or we bring you an idea. We want to be discussed, be clear, be aware of what we're signing before. We just want to propose sponsoring this in the first time to be able to try and to see if it works as a community and as a city, and for private businesses to work closer with you. That's the only thing we honestly want to do, and I think that captures what Rafa is trying to say. Okay, thank you.
So interesting to get more information. The next item on the agenda: sidewalks. Did we mean north first or north second? Anyway, Bob will tell us. That little stretch there. So, yeah.
Oh, well, they were both.
Yeah.
North Second was the one he got bids on,
Right.
and then Huron has brought up
The
North
one
First.
that-
I don't know if we still talking.
Take it away, Bob.
So, yeah, folks for Second Street sidewalk over the hill, and I was able to get one from ornamental and one from the figure concrete.
Could you say where the sidewalk's at? I had called from someone who thought it was up on North Second Street by the bicycle guy.
Oh, Second Street between Mission and Alma. A little farther north, or just past Alma. about.
And now I'm no expert on these, but these numbers were lower than what I was expecting.
Yes.
That they're lower than you were expecting too.
Because there is a little curb and gutter too up at the top of the hill where it's misty. There's a partial piece broken, and so it'd be putting in some curb there too with the driveways, ramps.
And I spoke to Maurice about this. I mean, this is the first thing of the year, so I mean,
You'd be charged a sales tax.
sales tax. Until we get a grant, like put that in there for us.
And we will be doing a lot of work to prep work and excavation, some saw cutting, and stuff like that.
Any discussion on this?
So this I think it's a good project. So when we did the C-Flip project up 63, that was all engineered. I think they hit their specs, but it caused a lot of frustration with a few of the home property owners, just with how those sidewalks all blended together. With the existing sidewalks and everything. So the proposed sidewalks on the west side of 2nd Street, and so when you come down 2nd Street, how that intersects with the sidewalk heading west on Mission on the north side. I'm just now looking at it. I know when we were out on the site, we didn't go down the hill.
Yeah.
But is that something where just looking at it, there's a lot of grade change right there? That's something we got to take a look at, maybe even going a little bit west on Mission.
And it would go back about 20 feet to get that grade to come down to a ramp and a curve there on the corner. And that sidewalk is a little wider than 5 feet too. I think it's 6 feet. And also spoke to the contractors about that corner. They're aware of that.
Yeah, that's kind of out of the whole project. Kind of I'd like to just if you can make sure on the front end we get that section. If we move forward with it, just that particular section seems to be the one that kind of similar to 6th Street. It could cause a little bit of problems if we don't have make sure we get all the grades correct on the beginning.
Yeah. And there's always things that come up on these projects, like a driveway cracks or breaks that we're going through or something. Well, like it's just part of doing construction. Things could change,
Yes, I'm just looking at the because there's coming down 2nd Street. There's at the very bottom is a driveway, and then there's a side. He looked at that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little tricky at bottom, right? And the sidewalk's going to be on what is now the road, right? We're not digging into any grass.
Yes. It'd be right along the curb on the west side.
But so it's going to be the outside. That whole okay.
Yes.
That's good. So you don't lose any road.
No.
That's good. Well, anyway, I'm very much in favor of doing this sidewalk. There's no room for angle parking there.
No, that's not what I was gonna say.
Do you have a relevant, if you want to come up for a comment?
Yeah, I thought about the less last commission meeting whenever you were talking about it, because you guys are talking about putting on the opposite side of the road is the existing sidewalk that goes up further past Gideon's Way and Immaculata, if I understood correctly. My only concern about that as both a pedestrian and a driver is that you're going to put a crosswalk in a place where people are going to be coming up a hill, and it's not really a good place for people to stop when you're trying to get up that hill. And I don't know how, unless somebody's crossing and they're paying attention to the cars down at the stop sign coming up, that might not be a safe thing to do, and maybe move the crosswalk further up to where past that intersection. I don't know. It was just something I was going to throw out there because it's really hard to stop when you're trying to go get up a hill.
Yeah, it's a tricky area. There's no easy solution. Some of the initial conversation was on the east side, but there's a lot of complications, especially when you get down the hill. And then I was meeting Bob out there for an hour and a half on a Saturday morning, and an hour or something like that, right around 9 a.m. So 8:30, 8:15 to 9:15, and the amount of traffic was pretty intense. And so we even considered, do we come up and go to the north side of Alma and take a little bit more of excavation on that corner, and that would present a little bit, possibly a better angle. But just being there and going up and down in that general area, there's no perfect answer. So there might be a better idea. But being on the south side of Alma, I was in favor of the north side of Alma, but Bob was in favor of the south side. I think he's right, because on the north side, it kind of creates a blind spot. I can't see down the hill. And also people coming around to that stop sign, it's a little bit of more difficult area to cross with confidence. Whereas on the south side, I understand what you're saying about coming up the hill and stopping. The one interesting thing is that the line of sight is very good on the south side of Alma, and 2nd Street starts to flatten out right at the top there. And so if a person does have to stop, they're not stopping necessarily, unless you have a line of traffic, of course. But I don't know. There's no it's a difficult spot. But I think the goal is to certainly get a sidewalk there. This appears to be the best case scenario that at least we can come up with out there. But I don't know. It's definitely not ideal. But anytime you get people
just
crossing
so I'm clear, is the crosswalk east-west, or is it supposed to be a diagonal crosswalk from the southern part of Alma to the northeastern part of
That's a good question.
Alma?
Just straight across the street.
Straight across.
Straight east, yeah.
So there's not actually a sidewalk quite where the crosswalk would be hitting, right? Because that path doesn't quite come all the way down, but it's kind of yeah.
So part of the project and part of what's bid is the sidewalk coming from Mission Street up 2nd Street to Alma, and also on the east side of 2nd Street, there right by the driveway at the top of the hill, it would be an entrance into a sidewalk section that would be part of the project, going through that driveway, and then there would be curb and gutter and sidewalk on the east side of 2nd Street all the way up to that gravel path right about where the recently installed bench is.
Oh, so we are connecting it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I guess I missed that part.
And I was shocked by the bid because the amount of concrete and curb and gutter.
Yes.
It's a
All right, well that's
a lot of work.
Thank you.
Would it be too much if we looked into how much a crosswalk light would cost?
Yeah,
I mean, something that someone presses and it just flashes lights as they're crossing the street that's visible from the bottom of 2nd Street because it's more elevated.
We can check. They're expensive.
Yeah, we talked about that before on the down on 24. I mean, I think the fact of the matter is there are a lot of people crossing that street now, and we sort of look out for each other. Right? I don't think there's any way to get around it. Some people walk up and turn to the west. There is a clear line of sight. Yeah, and that's good. It's extending on the east too. Well, do we want to take some? I would. I think I would like to move forward with this. I think the bids are reasonable. So, unless there's anyone further discussion, I entertain a motion. Well, I'll let someone make a motion on one of these bids. We have 2 bids in front of us.
I move to accept the bid from Ornamental Concrete for $25,217.50 for the curb and gutter and sidewalk up 2nd Street.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor vote aye. I'm sorry, did you give Raphael?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And there are none opposed. So the bid for accepted for ornamental concrete. Did you want to talk about
Some of the others?
yeah.
Yeah. Which one were you?
Well, what we have on here is North First Street. I think there was just a follow up on that in particular.
Oh, yeah, I think Raphael was gonna get with one of the homeowners there. Is he homeowner? I don't know. I didn't make contact with him.
North First Street, Raphael, the little segment. Oh, see if you miss it.
Yeah, so we were able to speak to the homeowners, or by we, I mean just me, and it's owned collectively, I believe, by the Salerno children. They had some concerns about, first off, safety, what it meant for their driveway, whether it impedes their ability to park there, as well as some dissatisfaction with previous work in that area and water issues in their backyard. So they did not seem to be too open to the idea of a sidewalk going in that area. I can go into further detail there if you'd like.
I don't know about more detail. I'm just curious to know, do you think it's possible if Bob were to go over and talk through their specific concerns, and if we could give them some assurances that we could avoid some of those things, that they'd be open to it, a little more open to it, or is it really just a no?
I mean, I would say it's probably an 80% no. I think any project that the city would want to do there, they would be more open to it if it involved fixing the drainage issue at that corner.
Are you aware of drainage issues?
Something off the alley.
He said
Yeah,
that.
so I haven't seen it myself, but it's my understanding that when it rains, the way that the land is elevated after some construction that was done at the railroad crossing results in a lot of the water being dumped into their side yard. So there's a concern that if there's a sidewalk there that further elevates the grade now going north to south, it's really going to form a pool there. But I mean, I haven't seen it. That's just my understanding. And again, this is pure me trying to recount what was said. So I may be misrepresenting his statement.
So I'm just looking at the Google Map street view of the area. I mean, you gotta be almost out on site to know the details. But if we were to put a sidewalk right in that little 4-foot section, in order to get the dirt grade down to the driveway, we're gonna have to remove some of the dirt a little bit towards the east, and the alley, the alley there's about 4 to 6 feet of dirt between the alley and the railroad ties. They're kind of like a little retaining wall. And because we have to, in order to get the sidewalk down to proper grade, that might actually help, because by doing that, that dirt in between the alley and the little retaining wall, it almost could create a little ditch, if you will, and help keep that water from going off the railroad project, and also the alley. Probably keep that water from going off the alley into their backyard and divert it down into the street. So this might actually help the drainage issue a lot, and give the water someplace to go, because right now with the dirt and the rock right there and the retaining wall, it's almost forces the water to go through the side yard. So it might be a win-win as far as fixing the drainage.
I can get with them.
So are you willing to take a look at it? Okay. And did you want to talk about the potential sidewalk east, come out of toward Ray's, down from what's his name?
When you was
Grand
24.
Avenue to Ray's.
Sure, we're and I, we made up a couple routes there. I think we've got.
Yeah, see.
And the one on along Highway 24 there, I talked to KDOT, and they thought it was very doable, but he's gonna have to check for definite, because there is a utility right away there, and some other things, and how close it is to the KDOT right away. But he thought it was a doable either one, and actually he said the one going down by the high school parking lot could probably easily get a grant for safe streets to school grants that they have, or do both. I don't know. That would require that one along 24 that is on a lot of that sidewalk is on private property. So I don't know if we get it.
The other is not.
Part of it,
You have to go across to that
I think a lot of it's in the right of way.
restaurant formerly known as Drug. I mean, the one on 24 is more direct, but I could see where it's more scenic. And if we could get a grant, yeah, we'll be careful about that, right?
Well, I was gonna say, before we go crazy on planning out a potential sidewalk, I think maybe we might want to step back a little bit and think about whether sidewalk there would be the best use of funds. So I understand the need for a sidewalk going up 2nd Street as a safety issue. But the long sidewalk around the 24, or maybe even some of the more minor sidewalks in St. Mary's, I understand the sidewalk project is important, just making St. Mary's safe and walkable. But these are real costs. We're spending close to $30,000 on 2nd Street. Maybe to the extent the commission was thinking of spending more than that this year, maybe we could consider putting that money into a savings account and putting that towards the parks. Because I feel like while our residents appreciate the sidewalks, they might be more appreciative if we spend some of the money that we're investing into sidewalks into this parks project that we're going to be working on here ideally the next 5 years. So it's just something to consider, especially a large project like that on 24, which might easily cost 6 figures.
See what you did here, Art. No, it's reasonable. I'm interested to know what I like the options. I'm not sure it's the highest priority. I agree with that. Do we want to look into even the cost or just put it on the back burner? Or did you have a comment here?
My only comment is just that right now that's the only grocery store in town, and there isn't really a good way to walk there. I mean, it's very good of Custom Woods to allow people to walk through their property there, but that is just something that people do. And it's not a particularly safe route, even at that.
Would the sidewalk be made out of concrete, or would it be like part in the asphalt form that you use?
You probably want to do concrete, longer lasting.
And if either route, we pursue either route, like during the winter, who's going to clear that sidewalk?
I don't know. I mean, we could, but it wouldn't be our high priority.
People walk through there. Go ahead, Brent. Did you have a comment?
So I think Maurice emailed this out, and it's handout sidewalk capital improvement fund recommendation, or just a document to start the conversation. And I put this together. Maurice printed it out for us tonight, and it's just a list of sidewalks that we've discussed. A list, and I think some of them include what was on Bob's map, and then a bunch of just random ideas that I added to the list based on looking at Bob's map and seeing which areas don't have sidewalks throughout the city. And I think it's, before going too far down the path of one particular sidewalk or the other, maybe stepping back and getting a thorough list, kind of getting the map again, mark them all out, and then just have a discussion of what are our top priorities. And then it's pretty easy to get a rough cost estimate of each one of those projects. And then we can kind of know a little bit more about what our priorities are and what the costs are. Then we can kind of make a decision off of just the list that we accumulate, and that's some of our cost estimates. So I think maybe this is a good starting point, and suggestion would be to take a look at it and take a look at Bob's map and seeing what I missed, if there's additional sections, and then maybe at future meetings we just start prioritizing them, doing a cost estimate on them, and then you can argue about which one's first and which one's a crazy idea that we shouldn't do.
It's, I think a cost estimate on each of these would be interesting, and I would also be curious to know, because I just don't know if there's any way to figure out how many people actually, how much foot traffic there is there. I don't think that was in any of the studies that we did, but that was all on 2nd Street. I think that's an important piece of information.
I see a lot of people walking.
Yeah. I don't know how do you gather that kind of data. Just watch. So anyway, I like that this fits with our general approach here of trying to so if we could just get some cost estimates, that would be great. Is there anything else for the sidewalk?
Building was one more, the path, or doing something on Mount Calvary, but
That's right.
down to where they have to play.
It was cheaper than I thought.
Yeah, and I met with Bill Drew out there on site, and it's another one that could be done on the north side of the fence there at the cemetery. It would require some dirt work, leveling, and then down towards the entrance, the east entrance of Mount Calvary Road into the church. There's a drainage area there where you need some kind of tube or drainage, something under it.
But am I right to see that your total estimate there is
Well, that's just gravel.
okay? So you have to do that.
I don't know how much time it would take to get that prep and dirt work done.
And that would be work that the city would do.
Yeah.
I think that's another one to put on this list here. You could come up with a reasonable estimate for how much labor would be involved in that. That seems like a fairly cost-effective one that's under our control. Anything else on that?
I was curious if the city has the equipment to do concrete grinding for those spots where a tree root is pushing up a section of sidewalk.
No, we do not. Well, generally, we'll tear it out and re-pour it. If it's an issue. But we'll be a contractor.
Okay, so we're just looking at trying to get some cost estimates for both that, for the rest of that, and for the, we'll call them the raised roofs. Is that good for? Okay, thank you, Bob. All right, next item. You might want to listen to this one too, I guess, Bob. Pole brackets for downtown. Did you want to speak to this?
Very cool, different residents. There's, I wasn't expecting any movement tonight. I just want to reintroduce the idea that was brought up in the fall. So now we have 3 new faces on the board, and the idea is fairly simple. It's been talked about quite a bit, but now we have a full game plan. And we've got volunteers standing by. We have all the equipment to have to manage the flower baskets. We just need movement from the city, and I'm not looking for anything tonight, but maybe be on the agenda to talk about at the next meeting more thoroughly.
This might be the first time for Gerard, Raphael, and Joe on this. Do you want any information? There's a packet here. I guess you probably didn't get this electronically.
No.
Do you want to hear anything about it now, or do you want to just, since we have this and you're interested in coming back,
yes,
we can have a more detailed discussion next time?
That's correct. Yes,
okay.
Thank you. I appreciate
that's
it.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we'll get this to you, Raphael. The next item on the agenda is the parks plan. And I actually asked Maurice to print something out on this one. And are these mine? Yeah. So Francis had a spreadsheet last time, and all I did was, what I would like to do is sort of automate that a little bit and standardize it so that we can very quickly. The hard work here is determining what the priorities are and some of these data points. But all I did was add a few columns, try to make this preset, and so that we can very quickly set up a pivot table or whatever and get see by how much are the A priorities, what does the timeline look like. So the 2 printouts are first just what the whole spreadsheet would look like. I just added a few columns of so we could add a location that was in there, but it's all selectable with drop-down boxes now. And the more important lists are actually on the smaller handout, which are the options that will show up for the different column titles. So location, priority, does the idea fit the space use, need, use, difficulty, and time. Difficulty and I was trying to make simple column titles that didn't take up too much space. So what I would like to be able to do is see if this covers all of the factors that we want to consider, first of all, and then decide what we want the selectable items to be for each criterion, so that we have a preset and consistent things by which to organize the data. That I think that'll just make it easier. And so all I tried to do was take what Francis had initially put there, and for A, B, C, and D, for example, I think were the priorities. And I would like us to define a little bit more clearly precisely what that means. And this was just my first swipe of what that means. A is certainly we're going to do it. B is it's likely. C it's possible. And D, certainly no. We may or may not include those data on the chart, but there are some things there are some things that have been proposed that maybe we're going to say certainly no. And then you see the point there. If I'm not trying to force these particular choices on us, but I would like to decide how we want to characterize each possible project and how many ways, how many characteristics you want to associate with each piece of data. And then we can more easily look at it in the aggregate. That's all I wanted to present as an idea. And we can either, I would request that we somehow actually go through the action and decide what we want these drop-down boxes to say. That my experience with this sort of stuff is if we don't standardize this and make it drop-down boxes rather than free entry, we're not going to have an easy way to compare things to each other. So that's all this really is.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Before you move on, Jenna Jones had asked to be added to the agenda to talk about parks. And I said, since it's already on the agenda, you can just hand her this. So
okay,
when you're done, you have to.
Okay. Well, that was my only contribution to this, helping us reorganize the data a little bit more. That's all I'm hoping to do, so we can actually make some decisions a little bit more easily.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you for providing the Excel. I think if we could add a tweak to it, would be adding a column that says, will this be in the park plan, yes or no? And having that being separate from a priority. Because I think if we can first determine, all right, these are all the things that we want in our parks, we're in a position where we can go to a landscape engineer or architect, whatever the right title for them is, and then have them draw that out for us. And then after we've determined priorities, then we can attack the different parts of that drawing. So that's just a thought. Just wondering if that's aligned with kind of the route that you were wanting to take.
So I just want to see how that might be different from certainly something that we're not going to do. When you say it's in the park plan, what's the sort of macro distinction you're making there?
Yeah, so for example, if we're aligned that the park is going to have, and here I'm not saying this is what we're going to do, but let's say we're aligned that it's going to have a water feature, whether it be a fountain or a splash pad, and it's going to have 3 volleyball courts, it's going to have a toddler playground area, like all of those things that the space is accounted for. We're then in a position to tell your architect, all right, please draw that out for us. And then while they are drawing that, we can prioritize, okay, we want to fix the pickleballs courts first, so that's what we do year 1.
Okay. Right.
We want to do splash pad year 2 or whatever, like that's, they can be separate work streams that are happening concurrently instead of us having to spend 6 months arguing about what we want to prioritize and then going to the engineers. I think we can very easily, with some city input, say, okay, this is everything that's going to be in there. We'll draw it, and while they're drawing it, then we come up with priorities as to what gets built first.
Okay, so I understand now. Yes, it's easily added, and then I guess the idea would be, even if we can't get to it, or if we never get to it, it can still be in the park plan because it's designed to optimize the space strength. I think that we might want to add. Okay. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
I'll add that. And obviously, we don't do this all while we're sitting here, but if you have other inputs on this spreadsheet, and I mean, I don't know, I don't use Google Sheets. Maybe it all has the same functionality. So I don't know exactly, are we allowed to collaborate on a spreadsheet, or is that meeting as a group? Or?
I wouldn't do it as a group.
Okay.
So you and he can collaborate.
Well, I'm just saying the smart way to use one of these forms is it's a shared document. Yeah. But if it's shared, then that implies that we're collaborating, which we probably ought not to do. No. So, I mean, if you just give me individually inputs you have on the sheet, then I can just sort of just re-wicker the design, from meeting to meeting, and then we can work on it that way. Good. Okay. Yeah.
There are some things I think that we might not want duplicates of across locations, so that we can have a showing point for that activity. I think that might be a good column to add.
So what is the specific column?
No duplicates.
Okay, so if we want a certain thing, we only want it in one place.
Yes.
Okay. I'll try to figure out where to put that. Yeah, and as things occur to you, just let me know, and I'll try to figure out where to, where I'm trying to make it as efficient and intuitive as possible. Good for that part, and okay. Defer to. This is. Are you going to take trip number 3 to the?
Happy to contribute.
Yeah, please.
He's gonna say the same thing I would.
Okay.
Just to let the Board of Commissioners know that in the chamber we have been working on a master plan for parks. Mrs. Carolyn Gray has been advancing on actual designs and measurement for parks. I think it's worth it to get together, and maybe there could be some valuable information that you can use for your decision making and save you both time and money.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else on the?
Hi, Janet Jones. First, I'll apologize. I'm fighting a sinus infection, so if I'm squinting in pain, I'm working through it. I have a design background. My focus is usually in spatial planning and design. I have a construction science and management degree from K-State, and I also have my CAD drafting degree. I'm here with for a growing group of individuals in the community that are concerned about the conditions of the park. We're bringing back Friends of the Park. We are hoping to have some cleanup days, maybe 2, 3. I don't know how much work I'll get done or how many volunteers I will get. With that being said, you can see where I'm coming from. So I've made a list. I understand I took a semester of Excel spreadsheets and it's a little bit excessive. I've just simply made a pretty basic schedule for a construction job. I broke down the parks, and then I have phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 for the Riverside Park. Railroad Park, I started mostly. Phase 1 is always going to be volunteers doing what they can get done with the city's help. So phase 1 at Railroad Park, for example, since we don't own it, we can't really do a lot. We can remove the stage that is put up there. We can take out the old landscape metal edging, shrubs, trees, stain the shelter house, and paint the swing if the city is willing to help us with some haul off and providing some materials. Maybe moving the random rocks that we have to mow around over closer to the shelter house. Because in phase 2, I'm willing to landscape with some low maintenance, no maintenance plants like peonies, hostas, bulbs. Maybe do a live edge, dig a live edge and put some wood chips in, all pretty feasible, cheap, and I'm willing to do. I've been landscaping, that's easy to do. Phase 2 is going to be where the city steps in with their the budget, the money. Obviously you have at the Railroad Park, you have the electrical updates needed. And I thought it'd be nice with the special sidewalk fund, it'd be interesting to finish out the south edge of that sidewalk between the curb and the sidewalk where it looks awful and just kind of not finished. On the flats, there isn't much to do, obviously. The shelter house definitely needs some attention, and maybe a tree that's got a widowmaker could be cut down, would be nice. If the city was willing to, again, help haul some of that off. Phase 2, again, I have landscaping, which is cheap enough if I'm willing to do the labor for free. I think some natives along the edge of the west side there along the highway would be nice. It'd be no maintenance. We'd have to mow the little strip. And also maybe planting a tree on the south side of the playground equipment. We would, some shade to the playground equipment that's there. Onto the money side again. I've been to the work sessions. I've been to the chamber, Carolyn Gray, and talked with a lot of people. A lot of comments have come up. Everybody really wants a fence at the flats. I can see their point. It's a toddler-focused playground, and it's right next to a highway. So I see your point. Maybe a fence to deter some kids. And then I did do up a drawing. I didn't bring it because I didn't know for sure if I was going to be doing anything. You requested a stroller path around the flats last time, and I drew one up. It winds around the broken light pole, the working light pole, and over to the broken water fountain, which hopefully will eventually be fixed. But a nice stroller path that would go around the area and wind around, and maybe an additional bench, since there really isn't a bench over next to the basketball courts. And then I know it's been said before, and I'll say it again, even though you're not going to put it in. I think if you're going to take something out of that, what you call a field, which is actually a practice field, you could put in a skate park. You did say at the last meeting you wanted stuff for adolescents to do, and a skate park would be great for adolescents in that section. Just throwing it out there. Restroom and parking was recommended. It's what we would call a community park. It's not the central park or the main park. Yes, it's centrally located, but it's a community park. Most people come in there are walking. They don't really need a restroom, and to be fair, we don't maintain things very well, and I think they'd be happy with a working drinking fountain. So, I don't know. Riverside Park, again, phase 1 would just be the volunteers doing what we can do. Painting, staining, cleaning, if you guys provide materials, and haul off. It's a working list. I haven't really gotten all of the Riverside Park together yet. Crow's Nest, gazebo, shelter houses, horseshoe pits, that one's ongoing. I haven't really built that whole list yet. There's poles that need painted and stained and stuff like that. Phase 2 of Riverside Park. I thought a little bit more about this one. I prioritized from your guys' last meeting. You guys were talking about a new source of income. Obviously, we have facilities people can pay to use. The sand volleyball, soccer fields, the baseball fields. I think those would be a priority number 1 for me. I would think the sand volleyball. I know the rec commission has already recommended that to be put in. I think third volleyball pitch should be feasible. I mean, if we're talking about the least amount of input and the most amount of outcome, I think those 3 are the best focus. You mentioned the soccer fields would fit with 2 and the parking in the middle. I think that's a great idea. And the baseball field lights, obviously. I know it's expensive, but if we're talking about those are the only source of income that we have is renting those facilities out, then I feel like maybe we should probably take care of them a little better. Fixing the drainage. I don't know if you guys have ever been down there when it rains. It's a mosquito pit. We quit going. If the water just sits between where the old pool house and the playground equipment is and the tennis court, and I don't know if you want to fix the drainage. And at the time, maybe add your pickleball court because it would technically probably fit in that space, and you're doing the dirt work anyway. I apologize. And that would lead into roads and parking. They had mentioned all their plans that they have. I think they have great ideas on the parking to the north there and a one-way instead of having that, since you're taking out that roundabout there, and then everything on between the basketball court and the tennis courts would then be allowed to be opened up. People aren't going to like it. I took out a tree, and that would all be opened up into a lot more parking in that whole area if you took out just the little curved area. I think you know what I'm talking about. I wish I brought my map. You know what I'm saying? Where you add more for that shelter house and then parking for the tennis court or the basketball courts. Also, if you're doing roads and parking and updating the parking, I think it looks. My point. Over where the other shelter house is, if we could remove the rocks and maybe put in the nice concrete markers for parking, not only would it look cleaner, it'd be a lot less maintenance. You have no idea the time you spend spraying Roundup and mowing around those silly rocks that people run into. Like, let's just put in like a nice looking parking lot, like nice parking spots. Just a thought. Phase 3, I call it the hopes and dreams. It's phase 3. I really liked you guys last time talking about I call it South Riverside Drive. You guys are talking about a road to go around. I just want to say I think that's a wonderful idea because I think that would be a solution to the congestion of traffic around the ball field area. I think people would then be able to defer around, and check out the score of the game, drive around the outside of the park versus driving through the park. I think that'd be great. I think that'd be a wonderful opportunity. Now, in that hole that's down in the southeast corner, I think you should jog around and that should be a dog park. But again, this is why this is my list of hopes and dreams. A concession stand update is on there. This is all just stuff that people have inputted, and I just put everything on the list. Hopes and dreams. Putt-putt, lighting, doing something with the historic pool house, maybe a rental, or where the pool was. People have recommended an indoor facility. I have pool and splash pad on there, but realistically, I'm not going to talk about that. Golf course, clubhouse, park sign entrance. It can't be hard for Mr. Harp to put a sign together. Didn't he set a sign for the park entrance? A sign? We don't have a sign anymore. No? Riverside Park. That doesn't seem super difficult. Some wood framing, some concrete putting, a weekend. And tree maintenance. But I've been trying to get tree maintenance for 10 years, so that's on the list. I was going to say with your sidewalks, as a side note, when we do studies at K-State for pedestrian crossing, pedestrian traffic, people are going to take the least, the most traveled is going to be the least distance. So you're going to tell people to cross the road, but they're not going to cross the road. They're still going to walk down the hill. You know what I'm saying? Like across the traffic, people are, you're gonna put a sidewalk here, the students are still gonna take that path because it's faster. Just throwing it out there. So Friends of the Parks that we have established, hopefully, we've been talking to, a lady who was just here about grants. I am disappointed that with the amount of children we have in the community at the last meeting, no one mentioned the playground equipment. I don't know why we're so against playground equipment. If you've been to the playground equipment, it sucks. It is old. It is not maintained. It doesn't work. So Friends of the Park would like to step in, and our goal is to focus on, like we looked into grants for basketball goals, ADA compliant equipment, the main play set, the toddler play set, the fence, the gate, maybe some adult workout equipment in the area, and also class playground equipment. So that's the focus of the Friends of the Parks is also to help with hopefully focus on up in the playground equipment, because that's with the community we have, we feel that's most suggested and most requested thing that I've found so far. So do with what you will. I gotta tuck my kids in.
Go ahead.
Sorry, real quick. Hi, Jim. Several good points. Thanks for coming. Especially reminding us about the drainage down there in the mosquito. It's really important. It's a good point. On the playground equipment, just so you're aware, because they may not have been specifically mentioned on the list, and I think these are all public documents, so you can kind of go through them. The playground equipment specifically is listed, I think, at least 4 times, maybe 5 times at different areas. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And not only that, but some comments I've heard is it's just age specific playground equipment. So you get little 3-year-olds can't play equipment for 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds type of the thing. So I've seen that a lot in parks to where they have designated kind of more toddler based on age. Sure. Space and based on age. So just so you know, that is on the list for not only Riverside in a couple different locations, but also the flats. Good. So it is a very important.
Yeah, that's the main focus of the Friends of the Parks, as we were talking about. It's just the playground equipment at both parks, updating, and we're willing to donate time, to help with that too.
Yeah, for sure. But no, it is on here.
Top priority. That's like
on several places.
With everything you're talking about, I was just really disappointed last meeting that you guys didn't talk about it. I think it's really important for the community.
We didn't talk about it specifically. I don't know. You probably listened to the audio. Yeah. But it was on the list.
Wonderful.
For sure. But it was just kind of, we were mainly talking about the structure of it, not necessarily.
Sure, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, and a piece before you go to, so if we could get, this is the goal. Now we have this group. We have a Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. We have Friends of the Park. We have the Caw Valley Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, if we could work together, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, and you know what the collection point is? Us. So if we could get all of this list is based primarily upon the same kind of effort that the Parks and Rec Board went through, having collected information.
I've been in contact with Mr. Moser and the Parks and Rec Board and the Chamber of Commerce folks.
So if we could get that list that you were reading from in a form that we can then put into the sheet.
I wrote this today, so
well, that's what right now. I mean, but because a lot of what you said is already on here, so then we could just.
It was just me and my engineering mind organizing it in a construction form. Sorry, that's not my brain works.
So if we could just get it all, I'd just like to integrate it so we have a single list that we can work from with input from the various groups, and that we can, try to move forward. I'm sure that we're going to satisfy everyone completely. That's the way this process usually goes. But if we at least want to know.
No, I appreciate that. I'll maybe not handwrite it. I'll get you that.
Okay. Did you want Raphael anything for Dana before she goes?
No. I just wanted to repeat what you and Francis had said. Thank you, Jennifer, for that list. And you'll be relieved. 75 to 80% of the things that you mentioned are on the list that the commission is looking at. So it's not like we're disregarding the input. So I don't want you or anyone to feel like that.
No, we're willing to help. Like I said, the volunteers for the park cleanup day, which is what really led to this. I don't know how many days we said for what we had done, but if you wanted to put it in your table.
All right, thank you. Come on up, please. Oh yeah. There you go.
Did I jump in front of somebody? I can't see behind me.
It's okay. I'm sure she's willing to wait. It's all pretty interesting. So
Sorry, Sarah Sider, again, the president and a lot of different organizations, but also St. Mary's Arts and Sounds. And what I keep hearing over, I didn't realize, so I'm learning a lot here too. You said you have a Parks and Rec board or committee. Is that what I understand?
Rec advisory board.
Okay. And I was just going to say, from an outsider looking in, and from like organizational structure, it seems like you just pointed out you've got a lot of different groups that are working independently in our own silos rather than working together. And not only just that, I almost feel like maybe you should have someone who's spearheading all this, even if it's a part of your Parks and Rec, at least someone, because having been to this meeting and then here at the last one 2 weeks ago, it seems like this monopolizes a lot of time. And I understand it's important for the commission, but it feels to me like you should have one person presenting what happened recently with this group and what some of the ideas are. And I think maybe that would work a little bit better for you guys, just a thought. And the other thing I was going to say is I've worked with a city I lived in previously in North Carolina. Whenever you're looking at parks, some of the things you guys have talked about were the pole brackets and the sidewalks. It almost seems like we're kind of like jumping around, bouncing around through different ideas, when maybe we really just need to look at doing some sort of master plan for beautification for our city that encompasses the parks, the sidewalks, and everything. And I know you have to look at these things as individual line items, but it seems like if we're working and doing these things separately, they might not mesh completely whenever it seems like they all kind of integrate too. So just my 2 cents. That's all.
Okay.
Well, I was gonna say, I had a drawing. If it would help, if we wanted some sort of organization or something to bring to said architect or engineer, I could draw you up a scale drawing of the stuff you're discussing, or by this person.
Well, yeah. Once we have a sense of that gets to the park plan, yes or no. Once we know what we need to accommodate, then we certainly want to find someone who can help us lay it out beautifully. And go ahead, come on up, please. Hello.
My name's Hannah. I don't use special titles like the other ladies. I'm just up here. I've been from the area for a very long time. The park we have currently has been there since 2012-ish, from the last time. Friends of the Park, volunteer if I'm correct. Is that year about right? 15 years. 14 years. Okay, so this has been a really long 10+ year conversation of what's the plan for the parks, what are we going to do, who's doing it, how are we doing it, and it keeps coming here over and over and over. And I do hope that we are taking the steps to get it. Is there any way to talk about what is the money aspect of what we're able to afford as a city for the parks without grants? Or is there any way to talk about so we are questioning about grants, correct? Or not correct?
Well, I mean, what is your question? Are we aware that
what are we really realistically able to fund for our public parks?
Well, as we sort of had this conversation a number of times.
I know, but I understand that.
Well, first of all, we have to know what it is that we would like to be able to afford.
Correct.
And then we decide if we want to find a way to pay for it. So, I mean, we've had
the town hall type situation at the Armory with the people who were organizing that. We've done the Friends of the Park in the past, which is reviving, I suppose. And then if we're bringing it all here to be discussed here, then can we also do another town hall with all of the groups together? With the lists that are all there from you guys from each of the individual groups as well.
I'm not sure what the value of that would be. So we are the decision-making body. So we take inputs from as many groups as we can, try to integrate them, prioritize them, decide what we really think would be great, and then we look at, okay, and then how can we pay for it.
Okay.
So that getting people together in big groups, it's a good way to hear what people want to are interested in. But of course, this is a public meeting,